Welcome to another edition of Walton Entertainment. Today we'll have more news, information, and entertainment from your local hometown.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Howard, and I'm the mayor of the best small town in America, Monroe, Georgia. I'm here with Leanne Walker to discuss a few things that we have coming up. First, I'm going to lean toward her leading us in events that are coming up, but also to tell you a little bit about our Downtown Development Awards from last week. Leanne?
Thanks, John. Yes, we celebrated 2019 last week. We had an amazing year in downtown. Business growth and community support and involvement, and visitors from all over just coming to love our small town. So we had a celebration of that, and we gave out some awards last week. One of the awards was Business of the Year, and that went to Wingfoot Running and Walking, which is right here in downtown. It's a running shoe store, and they were honored for their collaborations with our schools, other businesses. They have partnered with multiple businesses. They're doing social runs to bring people in downtown to our community and also promote health and wellness. So we love their community outreach and community support and all that they're doing for downtown. So they were honored as Business of the Year. We also honored a Volunteer of the Year. That was Camille Garrison. And Camille has been involved with our committees for a few years now. She's and her husband and family are new residents to the town within the last few years. And she has just jumped in and been an amazing resource and asset to us. She has chaired our Farm to Table dinner for the last couple of years, and she was instrumental in our bikes, trikes, and magical lights that was in Childress Park. But Camille has been a great resource, and so we're very thankful for her and excited to honor her this year as Volunteer of the Year.
Before you go to the next recipient, about Camille, like Sadie said the other night, she's been doing all this work while she's been growing two babies over the,
Yes.
over the last 3 years, and putting up with a husband who serves at Piedmont Walton Hospital,
yes.
Which, by the way, has gone from a failing grade to an A since Larry Ebert has been there. But that's a side note. Just really, Camille is fantastic, and we're lucky to have people like her who've really helped take us to the next level. Okay, back to you.
Yes,
I'm sorry to
absolutely.
interrupt.
No, that's okay. Another award that we give every year is called our Golden Hammer Award, and that's for excellence in renovation. This past year, we had some amazing transformations of buildings downtown, but the one that we chose to win this year was L.R. Burger, and that was the renovation and restoration of a historic gas station building, and it's now a beautiful restaurant that, again, it's bringing hundreds of people to downtown. There's outdoor dining, and it's really filling a niche that we were missing with our restaurants in downtown. So L.R. Burger was the winner of our Golden Hammer Award, and then the last award that we gave was Sponsor of the Year. A lot of people don't realize that all of our events are made possible through sponsorship. Even things like the lights and the trees at Christmas, at the holidays that everyone loves, our murals, our banners, even our flower planters, all of those things are made possible through donations of individuals as well as businesses. So our Sponsor of the Year this year was Monroe Animal Care Hospital, and they were chosen, again, they've sponsored monetarily for 7 years, but they go over and above and not just giving monetarily, but they also give their time, their talents, and their resources. They've come out to our Paws in the Park event, and they've spearheaded that with their entire staff and really been key volunteers in making that event happen, and even hosted their own event for 4 years with an Easter egg hunt for children and animals in the park. So we just felt like they had gone above and beyond just contributing in the monetary way, but really supporting our efforts in all ways. So we're so grateful for all of our sponsors, all of our volunteers, and so many business owners that make downtown just the amazing place that we love. So we were super excited. It's always fun to go back and recap our year because we forget all the amazing things that happen. We also celebrated as a downtown at our state conference. We won 2 awards at the state level. We won Best Transformation Downtown of the Year for the state in our Georgia Downtown Association. And then we also won an award for a Best New Event for our Farm to Table dinner. So we were excited and honored to bring home those awards back to our community because those are all the people that really make that happen. So it was fun to kind of recap and celebrate our year, and now we're ready for 2020 and lots of great events. So
And speaking of this year's events, what do we have the next few?
Yes.
And Farm to Table.
Yes, so coming up, actually just in a couple weeks, we kick off our event season with our chocolate walk. It's February 13th, and it'll be 5 to 8 p.m. downtown. You just come out and visit. We'll have a couple of locations where you'll start and get a map of all the participating businesses and a bag, and you can shop and dine and come and get chocolates from businesses. There'll be some specials going on. Some of the stores will have chocolate with the purchase, or maybe some chocolate themed specials. And there'll be several stations that you can just come and just simply get chocolate. So it's a pretty exciting event. We've already had phone calls from people out of town, from Canton and other communities that have heard about it and are coming out to the chocolate walk. So we're expecting a good crowd for that. Our big, beautiful fire pit that we have during the holidays will be back out, so we'll be doing s'mores on Court Street. But it's free. It's open to everyone. There's no tickets or no need to register. So we're excited about that. The next big event coming up is our car show, and this is our 15th annual car show. It's crazy to think that we started that 15 years ago. Laura Peters at Peters and Foster is, again, an amazing volunteer that spearheads that for us, and it would not be possible without her and her team and her expertise in the car world. But we will be closing Broad Street again this year. We did that last year for the first time, and it was a huge success. So actual show cars will be displayed throughout our downtown, and it's really a beautiful sight if you were not able to come out. But March 14th is that date. The registration is online. Everything's on our website. So if you have a car that you'd like to enter, please do that. Or if you just want to come out and see some amazing cars, do that as well. It's a family event that people just love, and it's really become one of our bigger events in downtown. So we're excited.
Debbie Kirk's husband always has a car to show too. She's our city clerk and has been here for 28 years.
Yes.
And I'm just amazed at how well maintained and refurbished a lot of those cars are.
It's really incredible. We have one of the better shows in the area, so we're very proud of it. And then after that, coming up in April, our Food Truck Friday will continue out at Monroe Cotton Mills. That's always a huge time to kick off that season. That's April 17th. And then that following day on April 18th and 19th, we'll be bringing back our Dock Dogs. So that's a dog diving competition. If you were not able to see that last year, it's a lot of fun. People from professional dogs diving will come out, but it's also a chance for our local community to bring their pets out and have a shot at jumping in the pool. So it was a lot of fun last year, and it was something the community loved. It was one of the first events that we did on our Future Town Green Space. So we'll be bringing that back out again April 18th and 19th. So it's really exciting about that. And I guess lastly, before we get too much into the summer, we'll talk, we mentioned Farm to Table. That event will be happening again on April 25th, but tickets for that event will actually go on sale March 1st. Last year it sold out, and so we'll be doing some ads on social media to let people know when those are on sale. But it's just a beautiful night. It'll be on the lawn of the historic courthouse, and we'll be pairing our restaurants with our market vendors to really showcase what our market has to offer and what some of our local chefs have to offer. So it'll be a great night. So again, our website is monroedowntown.com. All of our information can be found there, as well as our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram. So.
And that's why she's always known as the fun one in the office. She and Sadie have done just an outstanding job downtown, and we're lucky to have so many with an entrepreneurial spirit who have also chosen to invest in downtown. The list of businesses that we have opened over the last year was shown on the screen the other night, and 15 new businesses, but we've been 100% full for over a year. So we've moved our downtown from just Broad Street to now Broad Street, Spring Street, Wayne Street, with Silver Queen coming, we actually have a couple of blocks. It's real interesting and fun to watch things take flight.
It's exciting.
Would you mention a little bit about Christmas and Children's Park and tell the people something about the lights?
Absolutely. And there are a couple of things. I would be remiss to not thank Daryl McWaters for his generous donation. These lights were at Lake Lanier Islands, and then Daryl bought them for corn dogs and then donated them to the city. So between his donation and our public works team, fixing screwing in each individual light and getting those set up. They did that. They did the whole layout in less than 2 weeks, and it was really, really incredible. As a matter of fact, Christmas here, it's like stepping into a Norman Rockwell painting. You come downtown, the lights are beautiful. Of course, the weather was a little chilly, which you want at Christmas, and we had the live nativity on the courthouse lawn with our fire pit. And so they went from the trikes. What do we call the parade?
Bikes, trikes, and magical lights.
Bikes, trikes, and magical lights through Childers to come to the courthouse square to make s'mores on the fire pit, and then have dinner and do candlelight shopping. It's just beautiful. And I got a letter, and I just replied to this yesterday, from Scott and Cassie Caudell out of Cornelia, who were coming through that night. And what's really cool is now we're not the same sleepy small town anymore. So folks come here and you don't recognize them. But these folks just said they'd come through during the Christmas season, and driving downtown, it was just beautiful. It was so fitting for the season, and just wanted to say thank you for allowing us to pass through our small town. So I sent him a thank you note for his thank you note yesterday, because it's nice to know that we're noticed on a statewide level. And it's nice to be an in-demand town with so much fun going on. But Daryl, back to the lights, Daryl made a very nice donation, and our public works team really went over and above to make that all happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was beautiful. It's a nice addition to Christmas.
It really was, and if you didn't walk the park, you missed out.
Right.
You really missed out on the 12 days of Christmas. It was fabulous.
It'll be back next year, so.
Okay.
We'll do that. We'll get that going on Light Up the Night next year. So, you just have to be on hold for about 10 and a half months now.
Well, thank you. We appreciate this time with you all and updating us on the things that have happened and then the things that are coming up. We've got a lot of going on in Monroe.
Yes. We do. We're here at a really, really good time, and I don't ever want to let any opportunity pass to say thank you to the folks who we call our team. We have Public Works, Electric and Telecom. Our city administrator is just absolutely fantastic. Rodney Middlebrooks, who's water and gas, makes sure that we can actually drink water and not die. That's just such an important part to operating the city, that it's not all of the fun stuff, but it's the things that keep us a viable city. And we just have a really, really good team in place.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Creative artists can offer you a wide range of video production. Call the experts and discuss your project today, whether it's your special event or your company. Creative Artist, 770-267-7368. Creative Artist produces this program you're watching. Call Creative Artist today, 770-267-7368. Creative Artist, they'll put you in the spotlight.
Well, Mid-Georgia Soaring has been here on this field at Monroe for over 50 years, so we consider ourselves part of the Monroe community. We appreciate the support of the city government. We share the field with skydivers and other general aviation aircraft. We have a 4-aircraft club of club aircraft, 2 two-seaters, 2 single-seaters, and we have a number of privately owned ships as well. We offer instruction for some pilots to get their glider ratings and check out new members. And we have a lot of fun out here. It's all aviation, and we are licensed by the FAA. Our aircraft are registered by the FAA, so safety is very, very important to everything we do. So we treat this with a lot of respect and courtesy with the other airfield users, and we try to teach those habits and good procedures all through this. So that's really it in a nutshell. We're getting ready to go fly. And I've got a number of students myself today that we're all working on to achieve our training goals. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and the public is welcome to come out sometime and take a look at what we do. And again, we just want to be good neighbors here at Monroe.
I couldn't really tell you why. I've always wanted to fly. I'm in a adventure kind of person where it's mountain climbing or scuba diving, but flying was always the ultimate to me, just because it seems like something. This is what birds do and eagles do, and that men can do it is kind of amazing. So when I was in college in my 20s, my parents would give me food so I could eat, and I gave every bit of the money to the local flight school that's in College Park, Maryland. So I had bagels and cream cheese, to eat for years. And I got my pilot's license by fixed wing, powered engine airplane when I was 22. And I've been flying ever since then. I only recently started out with the gliding because it was a new thing to try, and I heard about this group and came out here maybe 3-4 months ago. So I'm in the middle of getting what's called a commercial add-on, my glider rating. So I went up the first time and I thought two things. I thought, one, this isn't going to be that much fun. I mean, it should be less fun with no engine. And number two, how scary is this going to be? You're towed up and they drop you off and you have no engine. That's literally what I thought. I'll go once. I'm probably not going to like it, but I can check it off my list and not worry about it. So I'll tell you, from the time we got dropped off at 2,000-3,000 feet, I was shocked. It was the fact that you have no engine. Number one, it's quiet, it's peaceful, it's a whole different experience. The glide ratio, not to get technical, in a fixed wing plane that I fly is 2-to-1, meaning you go 2 feet forward for 1 foot down, or 2 miles forward for 1 mile down. On this plane that you see in the background, it's 34-to-1. I mean, think about that. It's like 15 times better glide ratio. So they drop you off and you don't fall out of the sky. You glide around and then you go up when there's winds and thermals. So literally from the first minute, I was a complete believer, and I signed up that day for the club, the Mid-Georgia Soaring Club, and I've been coming every weekend that I can since. It's really enjoyable.
Some incredible things are happening here at Walton County Animal Control. I just want to thank all the adopters, all the rescues that came and actually got these pets from our shelter. I want to thank the sponsors, all the cross posters, everyone who does something to get the word out about the animals here that need help. And people like Paul in this show to show these animals out there every week for us faithfully so that people can come down to your local animal shelter and adopt.
This is Mark. He is a 2-year-old cattle dog, and he was brought in stray. And he's up to date on all the shots and deworming, and he's ready to go today.
Hey everybody, we got some nice little domestic short-haired tiger with white feline, sweet as he can be. So if you're looking for a cat, come to Animal Control and think about us first. Thanks.
This is a female. She's probably about 2 or 3 years old. She's already spayed, very sweet. She's just real scared. Needs a home fast.
This is Sasha. She is a coonhound mix. She's about 4 months old. She's very playful and very loving, and she'd make a great pet. She's up to date on all her shots and deworming, and she is ready for adoption today.
This is Macy. She's about a 9-month-old female lab mix. She's super friendly and energetic, just looking for a good home.
We have a female, about a year-old cat here. Now she needs to be spayed. She's a little scared right now, but she loves to sit in your lap. She'd make a really good pet for somebody who's looking for a good lap mate. So if this is not the cat you're looking for, we have plenty of them down here, and they change every day. So come on down here and find you a cat. We'll even do buy one, get one free. So if you find 2 you want to get, we'll have them for you.
Alright, stop. This is a male. He's already neutered. As you can tell, very energetic and sweet. Gets along with others, it seems to be. Very sweet, needs a home fast.
Are you in need of tractor work, bush hogging, grading, cleaning, sod installs, and drainage repair? Then you need Bold Springs Landscape Solutions. Bold Springs Landscape Solutions is a licensed, insured, and certified landscape solutions company. Their services include grading and drainage, bush hogging and clearing work, as well as fencing, landscape, and sod installation. Contact Bold Springs Landscape Solutions today. For decades, the newspaper has been our companion for news and special events. But here in almost 2020, the newspaper struggles to stay alive. I had the honor and pleasure of sitting down with my good friend, Pat Kavanaugh, a newspaper man through and through. He's wore every hat imaginable in the newspaper business over the decades he has been involved. He's wore the title of publisher, editor, reporter, and many others. He even started out as a young boy delivering newspapers. Today we talked to Pat Kavanaugh about the newspaper business.
Actually, I was 13, and I grew up in Maryland. I lived out in the country outside of Annapolis, and I took over a paper route, and back then they used kids. They were called little merchants, and now they're all adult, of course. And it was a community. It was probably about a 3-mile trek around the community, serving papers. I think I had about 125 papers, 130 papers. And, I didn't mind serving the papers. The collections were the problem. And, I'd go out, on Saturday and spend most of my Saturday trying to collect, and people wouldn't be home, or whatever, and I had to come back and whatever. And I would deliver papers for like a year, and half never collected. So my bill actually raised up pretty high. So the circulation manager contacted my mother finally, and my mother and my aunt, who lived down there in Edgewater, where I grew up, got quite alarmed. They thought maybe I might be stealing the money and going to jail. Now, we lived down a dirt road 1.5 miles. I went to private school, and, I never saw anybody. There was no other kids down there, so I don't know where I would have spent the money, but they thought I did. So the old circulation manager came down, talked to him. He said, well, we'll put him to work and we'll pay this off. Well, They put me to work when I was 14 in the mailroom. We went out and collected the route. Well, it turned out that all the money was out on the route. I actually got a profit from that route finally, and I just stayed at the paper and worked my way up. And when I was 16, I was the home delivery supervisor of 11,000 daily newspaper, in charge of about 150 carriers, and going to school full time, of course, high school. So that's basically where I started.
And you see the shape that media is in now, and sometimes on social media you call out some of these media outlets. As the president has coined the phrase fake news in reference to CNN on some of the stuff that he says has been inappropriate. What do you think about media today and how it's changed since you started?
Well, of course, when I started, Daryl, I'm 72 now, so I was back in the early 60s, and I was fortunate to work in the heyday of newspapers. The television media and cable media, is what people watch now. They don't read newspapers. And back in those days, the television stations had some pretty boys that did the news, and they usually took the news from the newspaper, and that's what they did. And they don't do too much more than that now, and except there's no newspapers really to make the news up, so they're kind of out on their own. They're not trained. They're actors more than anything else, and as a result, we get what we get. And it's really a shame because, in the media, I think the media as the fourth estate was the protector, and when it's right, is the protector and keeps things in balance. And in the estate system, there being four estates, if you believe that philosophy of the world, and that's the church, the people, the government, and the newspapers, the newspaper being the fourth estate, all have to balance each other. Well, that's not happening now because the newspaper is with the politicians, the media, and not necessarily the newspaper. And as a result, we're out of balance on the estate system, and that's why we're in problems we have right now. Eventually, people are going to rise up, and that's what ends up happening. It happened during the Reformation. In the church, the church got overpowered, and finally people had to rise up and shut it down. Same thing's going to end up happening, and that's going to be really sad. So I think that, and I saw this happening. Molly and I owned a paper in California. We bought it in '98 out in Orange County, which was then, I don't think it is even anymore, one of the last conservative bastions in California. And when we bought that paper, I found myself in competition to get reporters from the Orange County Register, which was about a 200,000 sized newspaper. And it didn't used to be that way because you didn't work at a big newspaper unless you started a smaller newspaper and you learned the ropes for 2 years or so, like going to the minors in baseball. And what happened is they would hire these kids. Then they'd put them out in their little communities where they started all these little community newspapers. And then they might do one story a month. If they did that, and well, it burnt, they didn't care anymore because that's not what they got in newspapers. So we lost a good collection of potential future writers, and now, we get what we get. And I blame journalism schools for what we get. And the teachers mostly have had no experience on any type of media, but they teach journalism. And they teach journalism in this idealistic way, and that's okay. It's okay to be idealistic as a journalist, but you also have to be practical and understand that you're not the center of attention. What you are is the scribe, and to report both sides. And in any business, there should be a higher up hierarchy, like an editor or a publisher or whatever, that make the decisions editorially, and they should all be kept on an editorial page. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. It's spread in their stories, and it's a shame.
Do you think the media is all liberal?
Well, the media's always been liberal, okay? I mean, there's very few. I think many of your community newspaper, which I was involved with all my life, depending on the philosophies of the publisher or the owner of the newspapers, were conservative to a degree, but not ultra-conservative, not right-wing. There's not too many right-wing newspapers, and there wasn't. But I think newspapers have always been kind of liberal because, that's just, and being liberal has changed. Because I can remember, when I was growing up, everybody was a Democrat. But it wasn't the Democrat of today. It was the old Southern Democrat, or it was a Democrat that was more conservative. And, like Winston Churchill said, I don't know the exact quote, but, basically he said, if you're not a liberal when you're young and you haven't had more conservative ideas when you get older, you're not much of a human being. And, and that's not quite exactly what he said, but that's pretty much what he said. And I think that was the whole philosophy. I know that, I had an opportunity to do numerous papers across the country, and every one of them, I think we were liberal on dealing with our community as far as, socially, on, supporting the YMCAs and the Boys Club and all the different types of groups that we supported. But I think we were more conservative on our editorial policies on how to spend money in these communities, how the communities were run, et cetera, and I always thought newspapers were alive, and I think they have a heart. And I think if you're the person that runs that newspaper and you have that opportunity, that all you are and ever will be is like a shepherd. You're not the owner of that newspaper. I don't care whether it's your money in it or somebody else pays you to run it. You're the shepherd. And you just like if you're the shepherd of sheep, you either have a good herd or you have a bad herd, and you're either a bad shepherd or a good shepherd. And that's how you have to look at these newspapers. And I always tried to look at a newspaper that way, that I didn't own that newspaper, that I was just there to try to manage it and do good for the community. And I always tried my best that way, and I always tried to have people that tried their best to be that way too. And I think that's all changed now. Like I said, it's called survival. And I never thought, on community newspapering, I never thought that those would be the first papers to go. I always thought the larger papers would, and that the smaller communities wouldn't go. But what's happening in these smaller communities is like what happens in Covington, what happens in Rockdale is we have like 110,000 people in, let's say, in Newton County, roughly. Well, half of those people live up in, I think, in the western part, up around Bridge Road, all the way up through there. Well, those people never acclimated themselves in Newton County. They still go to DeKalb, they still go to Atlanta. And so Newton County, say, for instance, is separated by half of the people that don't even care about being here. It's just a house. The other half are older people. The other 50,000 are older people that are like myself, that are, finally heading out to pasture. And the younger people don't have time. I mean, you have, 70,000 people a day drive out of this community to go work someplace else? I mean, do you have time to read a newspaper? I don't think so. Do you have time to really care about what happens in your community? And that's a shame. Because when a local community dies, when a local paper dies, there's no more checks and balances in a community. And when that happens, then, that's when taxes go up to here. That's when other things happen that you don't know about until you read about them, until you see them on something like that, what you do, with the folks you do for. I think they try their best to report the news all the time. But, you still need people. And you still have to be able to pay those people to go to cover these meetings, and as boring as they are a lot of times. So that's what's happening in newspapers. And newspapers brought this on themselves. Back in the 80s when I first became a publisher, I was a circulation manager, early 80s. I'd go to meetings and companies, and newspapers, again, were in their heyday then. Papers did 40, 50, 60% cash flows. And, I didn't find out till later that we had salesmen we paid good money to. They never sold. Because people would come in the front door, and we had rules. And, if you didn't have your ad in here by 2 o'clock on a Wednesday, it wasn't going to go in Thursday's paper. I don't care if you came in and said, I have 5 full pages, say, tough luck. We used to be able to do that. But I can remember going to meetings and see groups like Penny's and Sears back in their heyday. And they would come and talk to the publishers, and they say, please, we like newspapers. But you guys have got to give us a break, because every year we would raise our rates. And we get higher and higher and higher. So you guys got to give us a break, or we're going to have to find another alternate way. Well, we just laughed. It's like, yeah, so what else are you going to find? Well, guess what came along? Advo. And Advo took over the mail. And where we used to, when the people switched to preprints, said, we're running preprints now. And, we need a break on them. And said, no, we're going to charge you like $600, $1,000 to print those, to put those in our paper. Because we didn't want to lose the ROP or the ads. And, that's when Advo came along. Well, I think newspapers are lucky to get $15 $1,000 now or $20 $1,000 for those inserts. And that was beginning of the end of newspapers, I think, then. I don't think we quite realized it. But when they started going, I remember I was publishing papers in San Diego, and we had every grocery store. I think they were worth about $1 million a year in all the advertising they did. I woke up one day and they were all gone. We lost $1 million out of a group of papers that I was running out of there because they all went to Advo. They just pulled out of the newspaper. As a result, you don't see grocery ads too much. Food Depot, I think, does locally and some other stuff, but that's it. So anyhow, the industry shot itself in the foot and kept shooting itself in the foot and didn't realize until it was too late that they had done that, and we did. And then, of course, social media came along, and we were slow to react to that too. I mean, it was like, what is this? This is not going to come down in these local communities. Well, it did, and it has. As a result, there's newspapers that are gone, and they're not going to come back.
Of all the years you've been in the media business, have you seen the country so divided with the president as they are today?
No, I never saw much hatred. I mean, it started a little bit under Clinton, I think. In fact, I was personally a Democrat. I was out in California. There was a place called Paso Robles, and one day I just couldn't take it anymore. I went down and became a Republican. I can see the little old lady now. I came in, she was all older lady. She was all dressed in her red, white, and blue. And I went in and I said, look, I know old Franklin Roosevelt's crying today, but I'm becoming a Republican. And I just couldn't do it. And it started then. And then it's continued and it's gotten worse. And you know what's going to happen, even if Trump doesn't win in 2020, I think he will, but if he doesn't, do you think this is going to stop? No, I mean, payback is you know what payback is called. And, I think there's going to be a payback from the Republicans to Democrats, and we're going to continue this cycle. And I think the only way it's going to ever stop is we have some really big major tragedy. And that's going to cause people to finally stop and pause. But, we have these groups. I was reading the headline or I saw it someplace, that the Democrats on this last, trip home, where they've had this big recess, when they had their town hall meetings, that the people all wanted Trump impeached. Well, I bet you if they really looked at who those people were, they're part of that far left group, so have filtrated all these things. And, where they raise Cain and they listen to them, and they're the minority. So what's happened in this country is the minority controls things. Majority doesn't control things anymore. The minority, and then sometimes the minority of the minority control things depending on what's going on. So, that's what's happened to us. And is that going to change? I don't think so, Daryl. Not in my lifetime. Maybe not in yours, but, maybe in the younger people it will. I don't see it. It sounds bad, doesn't it? Depressing, but it's just going to get worse, I think.
What do you think the future is for hometown newspapers?
I think it depends on the culture and how far you are out from where a social media center, like Atlanta's kind of a social media center. When you say this business better than I did, and you always did when you worked for me. I thought we were far enough away here in Covington from that when I looked at things before I came out here, but even though we're in the extreme and the Atlanta publications don't really cover us and they don't do that, it's still close enough. You go across a little bit further down into Walton County. Walton County is not affected as much, and I bet you if you did a study, there's not as much social media usage as it is, say, here and up further. Same thing in Greene County. So those papers are still fairly strong. And the people still have a belief in their local newspaper. As long as that happens, they're going to be around. But when that starts changing and people are going to start flowing from here. They've escaped from DeKalb. They went to Newton. I mean, that's just let's face it. They're going to be going from Newton up to Walton. And when that happens, just like just take a look in California where people are pouring out of California. They're going to Arizona, they're going to Washington, they're going to Oregon, they're going to Idaho. And these were all conservative states. They're all now becoming liberal states because you would think that they move from someplace to get away from that mess, but they bring it with them. And that's what's going to end up happening. So, I think eventually there's not going to be a community newspaper. No, I don't think so. And I think the only salvation is going to be things like what you do, and who you work for now and covering the news. But and you know better than I, because I don't keep up like I used to. But when we had the Covington and Rockdale papers, when you and I worked together, we really got into online. And we covered online like a newspaper. And we went after, of course, we had the people. And we tried to monetize it, and we just couldn't. But because everything else was free. So, but we went after everything. You know how it was. If there was an accident, we wanted it right then. If it was a town hall meeting, I mean, you covered the county. We blasted out the county commissioners meeting to the whole county live. I mean, that stuff's not done anymore, but we did it. And, and it still couldn't monetize it. And like I said, it was like you could pick up the Covington News, covnews.com, or rockdalenews.com, and you could see stuff happening immediately. And that's how we dealt with it, if you remember. And, it wasn't easy, because we had to get it up online. We had to do this. But I think we took pride. But that doesn't exist anymore either. They're just about dead. And I don't know how it is in Walton County and how your company is that you're doing things for, how strong it is. And I hope they're successful, because we're going to need it. We're just going to need it. Because the paper over there, I don't know too much about the Walton Tribune, except, I was always jealous because they had community support, and we didn't here in Newton County. But, I don't know how much longer that'll be around. I hope a long time, but I think eventually it's not going to be there.
What do you think some of these newspapers may be holding on by their skin of their teeth by being the legal guardian?
That's a key. Our salvation when the bottom fell out here in Newton County, and I was telling you that when I came here, we had a real estate magazine. That's when real estate, you had to give up your firstborn child just to have an opportunity to bid on a house. When that fell out, we had, I think I'd only been here 3 months, we had like a magazine for real estate. It was like $50,000 a month product. In 3 months' time, it was gone. So there it is, and it's just, I don't know. It makes me sick in my stomach because I love newspapers. That was my whole life. I miss it some today, but. And I write once in a while, but, my heart's not in it anymore. I spent 50 years of my life doing this,
And how long before the county uses some internet source?
Yeah, I'm sorry I got distracted on that. That's what happens when you get old, okay? But the legals, that's what I meant to tell you the story. So we survived on the great bankruptcies and all. The Covington News survived for about 2 years. So we tried to do that's when we tried to do all these other things while we had the money. And we still have it, and they still have it, but it dropped down from the high down to normal. I mean, and it's nice to have that. It's really nice to have it, but it can't make your paper survive now. You just can't. It's not that much anymore. It's just a normal run of what happens legally. If that goes away, I think there's going to be a lot of small newspapers that does help them at least break even or make some money are going to be gone. And that can be. I mean, it was always a threat that there's companies out there that want to put it online. In fact, the Georgia Press has it all online. Every newspaper's online. So right now, that's going to eventually go away too, because it's just they're going to get enough people up in the Senate and the House and say in Georgia that have no fear of their community newspaper, because there's no community newspaper that does anything, and they're going to vote how they want to, and they're going to go where the money is and where they're going to go with the source. So I think legals will go away eventually too, and when that does, it's going to hurt. even papers like the Monroe paper, the Walton County Tribune, the Greene County paper, that's going to hurt them a lot, yes.
Well, and if you had a way of changing anything that you've done, is there anything you'd do different?
No, Daryl, you know, like I said, I saw with the Covington paper, and you know, we were a 3-day-a-week paper. It was, you know, had a good cash flow, had bad management over the years, different times. I think we put out a good newspaper. I mean, we covered things, you know, editorially. We said something. We caused an effect. We caused change. We were the heart of the community. That's what I always believed the newspaper should be, the heart of the community. And you know, it just, would I change anything that I've ever done? No, I really wouldn't, because, like I said, I believe so strongly that a newspaper, again, was the heart and was a living, breathing commodity that, you know, that a community had to have that. And I believe that with my whole heart and soul, and I always did. And I published papers and worked in circulation in North Carolina and Virginia and Colorado and California, Georgia. You know, I've had an opportunity, Tennessee. I had opportunities to be a lot of places. I met a lot of people. I did a lot of great things, you know. I met vice presidents and sat in owners' boxes at ballparks. You know, there was a time I told people the other day, they said, do you miss things? I said, well, you know, 25 years ago, you could be in your office or somebody else's office with a senator or a congressman or a community leader, and you could almost come to blows theoretically over an issue. Not really, but theoretically. But when you're finished, you shook hands. And the next day you might be out doing something together in the community. It never was personal, not personal. It was like, hey, this is how our vision of how a community should be. And we can disagree, but we're not going to hate each other because of it. Here, you know, it got to the point here at times that if you disagreed with somebody, once they got in, they didn't think they had to answer to anybody, and they still don't. And they would get their whole families after you. Then they would get on Facebook, and you know, then they would tear you up and your family and your employees, and you do everything else, you know. And it was like, that's how it was going to be, and that changed. And you know, or you know, again, 25 years ago, somebody call up and say, hey, you know, I didn't like that editorial, I'm going to come down and kick your ass. You say, well, come on down. You know, they weren't going to come down. But now they tell you that you better have a back door you can go out, because they're allowed to come down with a gun, you know. And I think that's part of what it is anymore. You know, there's no respect. Respect is gone.
Creative artists can offer you a wide range of video production. Call the experts and discuss your project today, whether it's your special event or your company. Creative Artist, 770-267-7368. Creative Artist produces this program you're watching. Call Creative Artist today, 770-267-7368. Creative Artist, they'll put you in the spotlight.
Welcome to another edition of Through the Camera. I'm your photographer, Daryl Everidge. Today, tag along with me as we visit people, places, and things. So go grab the family, grab a camera, and let's go grab some memories.
And we're off. Our first stop today is Chocolate Camp at Scoops on the Square in Covington. Now this sounds like a delicious treat.
We started in June, so we've only done 2 classes. They're every Tuesday and Wednesday for the month of June and July until the kids go back to school. And it's a 4-hour camp class, one day for 4 hours. And it covers a lot of different categories of chocolate. They'll dip their own cone, as we sell here with our ice cream. A lot of kids are familiar with the dip cones, but they don't know how it gets that way. So in the beginning of the 4 hours, we dip a cone and let them dry. Go over a lot of the health concerns and why we wear gloves and temperature, and depending on the age bracket of the class. We've tried to coordinate the classes with the age brackets together. So we have 5 to 10 and then 10 to 15. And it's worked out well so far. We've only done a few.
everybody for coming out. And how this got started was county manager wanted to do an employee appreciation picnic. And it happened to be at the same time, about 3 weeks ago, as the original scheduled date for this car show. So me and the county manager got to talking, and I said, well, John, I'm going to have a big crowd on the square. I like to recognize the county employees that have been with us 15 plus years. And when I said that, I didn't know we had 89 employees that have been with the county 15 plus years. We have 3 employees that have been with us 34 plus years. And you know, that there is amazing, you know, being with one employee that long.
That was a great car show and a great appreciation for all the Newton County employees. Good job, guys. And now we pack the car up and head 329 miles, a little over 5-hour car ride. But we're headed to the beach, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is a beautiful place. It hosts over 14.6 million visitors annually, and the Grand Strand is home to an array of tourist attractions. This area receives a huge influx of visitors during all seasons, whether it's winter or the hot July sun. The area's attractions include its beaches and many golf courses, as well as a number of amusement parks, an aquarium, retail developments, and over 1,900 restaurants and an array of nightclubs. So this week, when the back roads led us to South Carolina, we had no idea how much fun and relaxation we were going to find.
Here we are, about to take our Myrtle Beach helicopter tour ride. We're a bit nervous and a little scared, but hey, we're gonna have fun. Let's see what it looks like from about, cloud high.
So the map's up here. All the different tours that we offer are listed at the bottom. I'm gonna give you a quick safety briefing. The most important thing to remember is not to go anywhere near the back of the helicopter. Always stay up front. I'm gonna get your doors for you, getting you in and out, so when you get back, wait for me, I'll get you out. I'm also gonna help you with your seatbelts. I'm not sure who your pilot is today, but your pilot's salaries here are based off of gratuity. So if you like your pilot and you have fun, feel free to give him a tip.
Myrtle Beach is a coastal resort city in South Carolina. It's a complex of beach towns and barrier islands stretching from Little River, South Carolina to Georgetown, South Carolina. Arising from the gateway of lumber workers from Conway, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach has rapidly developed into a major tourist destination in the southeastern United States. In 2009, the population was estimated at 31,968. Myrtle Beach is the 13th fastest growing metropolitan area in the United States. Wow, it's been a fantastic day today. Let's take a look back through the photo album. Whether you think about it or not, music is a part of our lives. And for Tracy Stever, music is her life. Recently, I had the opportunity to stop by Stever Studios and talk to Tracy about how important teaching music is to the next generation.
I worked for Primerica, and my boss allowed me to have a little side room. So after work, I'd work 9 to 5 as the office manager, and I'd get off and I'd have a few students come up to the office. I had about 3, and over time, a couple years, it just grew, and then I had 5, and then I had 10. And then I met my husband, and he said, why don't you quit that office job, and why don't you just go for it and just do music, since that's really your passion. So I got in touch with Sadie Krozik, and she leased me a couple rooms over here around the back of City Hall. And at that time, I brought on a few more teachers, and we just kept growing and growing, and now we're probably up to about 80 students, and we've got about 6 other teachers that teach here besides myself. Oh, I mean, we have some serious talent here in Monroe. It's just amazing. A lot of, piano players are my specialty, where a lot of my kids really shine. When I was growing up, music was my life. Coming from a broken home, it was something that I could always turn to, that was always there for me. And I can't imagine my life without music. I'm a career musician. That's what I did when I was in middle school, in high school. I went to college for music education, and I just can't imagine a life without music.